Good evening and welcome to Skinny Sports Bar and Grill, located at the corner of Huntoon and Gage here in the capital city of Kansas for the first edition of the Washburn Coaches Show here at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill. The 2022-2023 athletic season is upon us in 48 hours. That is right. In 48 hours from right now, either one, Cameron Lake will be putting foot to ball, and more than likely it'll be a touchback, or will the Lincoln Blue Tigers kick it to All-American kick returner J.J. Letcher? Or will he take it out 9 yards deep? And if he does, we are okay with that because we know what he can do with the football. Welcome to the Washburn Coaches Show, as we'll be talking all things Ichabod football for this first edition with the all-time winningest coach of Washburn football. Head coach Craig Sherg will be joining us to recap the off-season, recap the fall camp, take a look at the upcoming season when it comes to all of the different positions, and then we'll get you set for the game coming up on Thursday, 6 o'clock kickoff, 5:30 pregame coverage right here on your home for Washburn Athletics, Country 106.9 or mycountry1069.com as well. Coming out here to Skinny Sports Bar and Grill here at the Washburn Coach Show. Today is a great day. You need to take advantage of Taco Tuesday. I'm not going to lie to you. I had 4 tacos already. They are delicious. The queso's fantastic. Come on out on Tuesdays. Of course, Wednesdays is the cheeseburger dinner, as well as 250 Miller Lite bottles. And, of course, on the weekends, great food and drink specials for the K-State games and the Chiefs games that are coming up as well. And then every single Monday through Friday here at Skinny's, from 11 to 2, cheeseburger and fried, just $5.49. You cannot beat it here at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill. If you'd like tickets for the game coming up on Thursday, it is very simple. Your American Family Insurance agents have them for you. And if you need them, come on in right now. We got some tickets for you for the game coming up on Thursday against the Lincoln Blue Tigers. And we'll preview the Blue Tigers coming up here in just a little bit. But right now, we bring in the head coach of the Washburn Ichabods. He is in his 21st year as the head coach of the Washburn Ichabods. He has 130 wins. That is just inches shy of 60% winning percentage. He is 4th all-time in the MIAA in wins with 112. That's right, 4th all-time. And the coaches that are ahead of him are pretty well-known coaches in Mel Churchma, Chuck Broyles, and Jerry Partridge. Not a bad trio to be behind. Been to 8 postseasons, 4 times to the playoffs, including last year in 2021. We bring in the head coach of the Washburn Ichabods, Craig Sherg. Craig, are you ready for another year? Just think, you have been old enough, or you have been coaching enough at Washburn for your career to legally have a beer here at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill. How about that?
That's right. That's right. And then when we were starting to recruit some of our players' kids, so that I know I've been at it a long time.
Who are the kids that you're recruiting now?
Oh, there's a number of them now.
I don't know. Can you say it? I don't want to get in trouble here. I don't think you
that's
can.
Right. That's right. But yeah, we've been at this long. Some of the guys have had kids right away, and we've recruited them. Some of them have already been on our team, so it's pretty neat that way. But yeah, when you think of how fast it's gone, like you said, the days are long, but the years go by very fast, and that's truly the case. But it's been a good ride. Obviously, we're looking forward to this year. The kids have worked really hard. We felt like, last year's team did a very good job, and it kind of gave us momentum. I felt like spring ball was outstanding. We had a lot of competition at positions, and I think that guided us right into summer. And we were pleased with how the kids did this summer because fall camp went well. And we feel like we're ready. Sometimes when you're getting ready for that first game, you wish you had another week of practice. And I'm not that way. I don't think any of our coaches or players that way. We're like, yeah, we're ready to play. We need to play and see what we got. So it's nice to be at home, too. And we, like you mentioned, Thursday night, 48 hours from now from kickoff, it'll be the only show in town. So hopefully we can pack Yager Stadium. It's supposed to be a beautiful night. And I know people are revved up for football. The pro game doesn't happen until the 11th, or the 8th, I guess. So it's a ways away. So get that hunger, come out to Yager Stadium. Let's fill Yager Stadium and have a great time.
And people are so starving for football. football
Yeah.
that almost 5 million people watched Nebraska play Northwestern in just a terribly played football game. That goes to show you how many people are willing ready to watch a little bit of football. And what a year last year. 9-3, go 9-2 in the conference. You beat the number 2 team in the country, Northwest Missouri State. You make the playoffs. Anytime you make the playoffs, it's a fantastic achievement. You fall to Harding in the first round in a game. Score did not indicate how close that game was. And then when you look at who you return, do you believe in momentum from one year to the next, or is it more of a in-game momentum? Is it that type of thing? Because sometimes, the off season's long. Something can happen. Roster turnover. You return a lot of guys, but do you believe that loss to Harding, and do you believe that 9-3 record and how good you played last year can carry over to this year?
I think it carries over with leadership. So those guys that were juniors and coming back this year, they want to get back. They felt that excitement and that taste of what the playoffs are like, and it didn't last as long as we wanted to. So they talked about that from day one. Let's get back. Let's get back. Let's host. If you can host a playoff game, that's even a better achievement. And that's what our goals are set to do. And it's very tough in this league because every week is very tough. But the leadership of our team, that senior group, guys that have been there, played a lot of snaps for us. We have 22 seniors, I believe, and they're really pushing for that. And we have a number of guys that played a significant role last year that are back. We have some other guys that played and they didn't play as much as they wanted to, and so they're really pushing to play a significant role this year. And so when you have competition at positions, that drives you. But I think the leadership, I really like the leadership across the board, offense, defense, special teams, guys that are really pushing to better the team.
We're talking with head coach Craig Sherg of the Washburn football team as the Ichabod's ranked 25th in the D2Football.com poll, starting the season against the Lincoln Blue Tigers. And when you look at the spring ball, with spring ball and having a new quarterback, and we'll get to the quarterback position, we'll talk offense, defense, but when you got a new quarterback, it's a little different in spring ball. Those faces are not there. Mitch has been there for 5 years. His face is not there underneath the center. So how do you think spring ball was this year with a few new players at some key positions?
Yeah, what was unique about this year is probably our depth. So, and usually it's on the line of scrimmage where you maybe lack some depth. But what we were able to do in spring, and you know how when you teach stuff on the board, you teach it on film, and you get reps at it in practice. So those reps in practice are valuable, and oftentimes you can just do one group, offense versus defense, and you do that, and the coaches are right there, and you're coaching them on the field, and it goes well. But we felt like we had enough depth this year where we almost ran 2 practices. A lot of our team segments, whether it was pass skeleton or inside run or even team segments, we would basically run two groups going at the same time on opposite sides of the field. So we were running 2 practices. So the bottom line of that is guys got a lot of reps, whether it was your 1s and 2s or 3s and 4s, they got a lot of reps. So I felt like the improvement that we had over our 15 practices was maybe as good as it's ever been, and the competitiveness was there. So Kellen got a lot of great snaps. And then Jared Taylor was a transfer that we got in, and he's a senior transfer. He got some excellent reps. So we feel like quarterback-wise we're really solid. And then other guys got reps too that will be our 3rd and 4th string quarterbacks. And so even from that standpoint, if you can double the reps that you get in practice, all those guys are gaining experience. Now you need to come game time is truly valuable. So we hope to play a lot of guys on Thursday. And as coaches, we have to do a good job of subbing. Sometimes you get too tight as a coach and you don't let the other guy in. And we got to be good. We got to get these guys in because they practiced really well. And that's what you preach as a coach. You say if you do it on the practice field, you deserve to play, and we need to give those guys a chance to play.
So fall camp rolls around, and a little different now. There are no two-a-days. Can't do that anymore because apparently one either, as the older generation says, that the youths have gotten soft, or we have smartened up, and you need to work smarter, not harder,
Yeah.
when it comes to that. And sometimes it doesn't help, running 150 plays in the heat of the day
Right.
when it comes to the efficiency aspect of it. But did you get what you wanted out of camp this
Yeah.
year? Because one, I know you've always said it's one, to teach, two, to get in shape,
Yeah.
and then three, the bonding experience. Because you don't know what camp is like unless you've been through
Right.
camp. I
Right.
can explain to you what camp is like, and it's terrible. It's awful. The only fall camp that I enjoyed was my senior year, because then I knew it was the last one. But it's tough. It's hard. It's 6 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, and you get like an hour and a half break in the middle, and you're lucky if you're able to tone it down a little bit to take a nap. But it's a tough situation, and this year was the normal camp before school starts. And so how was camp?
Yeah, it was a good length. It wasn't as long. Like when you played, we had longer ones.
21-day camps, Coach. I remember them very vividly.
We wish we could have those, but they just don't let them do that anymore. And there's a little bit of truth to both of what you said earlier, but you do space it out a little bit more. There's more off days. We try to do team building.
Wait a minute. Hold on. They have off days?
Yeah, there's off days. Yeah, they sprinkle a few of those in. But
wow.
And well, we tried to incorporate some morning stuff for sure, but then the evenings, if you can remember, the evening practices there's a little more excitement level, a little more competitiveness in those evening practices. So we incorporated quite a few evening practices to get them as competitive as we could get, and it's cooler too, obviously. But most of our scrimmage style practices were at night. But you watch a lot of film. Our strength training was really good. I think we organized that about as well as we have. Kids, I think, didn't lose strength. They actually,
and that's one thing that I think is a benefit of that. We didn't hardly lift at all, because you had no energy when you're doing 2 days and practice every other day. That you probably it's like a still building with strength.
Yeah, and we did. That's one thing with the way they do it now, and the rules are structured. You can make sure you get the lifting in, and and I think the kids, each practice maybe is a little faster paced because they aren't worn down, which is good. You do lose some of that bonding though, because to truly bond as a team, you need to go through some tough times, right? And that camp experience is good. We had enough days though. We a few more days would have been good, but it's okay. At least we had 2 weeks of it, But you do need that. And that's why those NFL teams do it, because like the Chiefs, they go away, they go to Western, but you just need everyone together where that's all their focus is. You get them away from all the other stuff, and so they can just focus on each other and the team.
Hey, I'd be all right if Chiefs would come this way.
I know it.
I've thrown that out there. Hey, we got an indoor facility. Yeah. We got a good situation. Come on out here to Topeka, Andy Reid. I can show you a place that's got some good cheeseburgers.
Seen St. Joe enough.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Instead of going an hour north, head an hour west.
That's right.
Our way. We got a lot to get to here on this first edition of the Washburn Coaches Show. Don't forget, Thursday is the game day against the Lincoln Blue Tigers. We'll preview that game to finish off this edition of the Washburn Coaches Show. Then Washburn will be on the road on September 8th against Central Missouri, and then their next home game will be on September the 17th against Nebraska Kearney, 1 o'clock kickoff at Yager Stadium. So those are the first 3 games for the Washburn Ichabods. We are here at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill, your home for the Washburn Coaches Show. Coming up next, we'll get to the offense, then we'll touch on the defense, and then a preview of the game against Lincoln. Get to all of that coming up here on this edition of the Washburn Coaches Show. Gage here in the capital city, where today it is Taco Tuesday. You can get your tacos here, as well as half-price chips and queso. I knocked down 4 tacos, and I could probably knock down a few more, but 6 o'clock came, and I get to talk to you, Coach, so it works out all right. But come on out here to Skinny Sports Bar and Grill here at Huntoon and Gage. Tomorrow it is a fantastic dinner special, as well as Monday through Friday from 11 to 2, great lunch special. It is a $5.49 cheeseburger and fries here at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill. The Washburn Ichabods, we're going to start with the offense, and the reason why we're going to start with the offense is the offense put up 32 points a year ago, and they return 8 starters from a year ago. That is great to see, especially at a few key positions. But the quarterback position is the most important position in all of sports. Maybe the goalie in hockey might be up there as well. But in order to be a top of the team in the MIAA, and if you go back in history, Washburn's made the playoffs now 4 times. They have made the playoffs 4 times. 05, 07, 11, and 21. All 4 times. It is a record-setting type of quarterback. 05 and 07, Jordan Brill. He's 1 or 2 or 3 in every single category in Washburn history. In 11, Dane Semino was the Harlan Hill runner-up. I mean, he's in Division II records. Last year, Mitch Schurig, whom you know pretty well, who's back on the coaching staff, first in completion percentage, second in touchdowns, second in yards. You got to be a really good quarterback to make the playoffs. It is such a difficult league, and you got a brand new quarterback. He's going to make his second start. He did start 1 game last year, but Kellen Simoncic, the 6'3", 205-pound sophomore out of Smithville, Missouri, and he's in a unique position because he's not as if this is his very first game, and the moment's going to be too big. When you get thrust into the number 2 ranked team in the country and that D-line last year in Northwest, and there's 4 minutes to go in the game, and you're on your own 8-yard line, and you lead the team to a 92-yard touchdown drive and beat number 2 ranked Northwest, and then the next week you have to start against Central Oklahoma in a place that nobody likes playing in, and you win that game. It's not as if he doesn't have game experience. It's not as if the moment's going to be too big. It kind of boils down to how does he handle being the guy.
Yeah.
That's going to be the big thing because he's got big shoes to fill. Mitch had a fantastic career, and now Kellen, who's been in the program for 3 years. The beautiful thing here is he had kind of the COVID year, but played a little bit last year, redshirted as well. We know he's got mobility. We know he's got a good arm strength. So he's still a new quarterback, but it's not like the typical, we got a brand new one.
Yeah. He, like you mentioned, he was thrown into the fire in some key games last year and performed very well. I think he also really handled it well the spring and fall camp. Summer also has gotten to know the receivers. They've gotten to know him timing-wise, all those things. I think he has a lot of confidence in our skill positions and line, and he feels very comfortable just distributing, taking what the defense gives you. Got a really good arm, is smart, sees things well. I think, he'll be fine, and you just need experience. And so, obviously, starting at home is a nice thing on Thursday night, but I think he's got a real good confidence in his abilities also.
He didn't look like it was too big last year. That is such a huge – he didn't have, the deer in the headlights type of thing, and he's got a cannon for an arm.
Yep.
That is for sure, because talking with a couple of the other Washburn players, it gets on you in a hurry, which is a great thing. You can thread the needle a little bit. So that is a big thing for Kellen Simoncic. You mentioned Jared Taylor. It's nice to have an experienced backup who's played in a good conference in the NSIC.
Yeah, and he picked up on the stuff really good, fit in right away with the quarterback room and the other players. Really, really cool kid. And he's had a really good fall camp and learned our stuff in the spring, worked on it in the summer, and then fall camp, he's played really well. So we feel really confident that way. You can't go into a season with just, one guy at any position, and that includes quarterback, because you got to make sure you have someone else that can play.
Case in point, last year, Kellen was ready to go
ready to
right
roll.
when he said, hey, Coach, let me do this.
Deal.
And That's why I'm excited to see number 10. That's
Yeah.
really why I'm pumped to see Kellen Simoncic. And the one thing that helps out a quarterback is if you've got I don't know if there's anybody better than the two wide receivers you've got. You've got J.J. Letcher, who, if he has the year that we think he's going to have, might finish second all-time behind Sam Sissom in yards. He'll be the all-time receptions leader in Washburn history. Going to be up there in touchdowns, all-purpose. He's got a chance to pass Troy Slusser as the all-time all-purpose guy because what he can do, kickoff returns, punt returns. Last year, 8 touchdown receiving. He had just an incredible year last year, All-American, and I don't know if people are going to even let him do his thing this year. I sure wouldn't. I'd kick it out of bounds. And then you got Peter Afel.
Yeah.
All he does is catch touchdowns.
Yeah.
8 touchdowns last year, and his 19.3 yards per reception is just insane. Yeah. That's a huge benefit. Throw in Tice Brown, Colin Wilson back, dipped his toe in the transfer pool, decided to come back. So you've really got 4 wide receivers and a couple more that really can get it done.
Yeah, and again, they hung together in summer and spring and or spring, summer, now fall, and we had, again, the fall camp's been good. They knock on wood, they've stayed healthy and they've gotten better. So and it's a you wish you had 2 footballs out there so you could spread it out even more, but you only have 1, so they got to share the receptions, but that's a good problem to have. And they do bring a little different dynamic, each one in particular. JJ's very quick and fast, explodes out of breaks. Peter's got explosive speed downfield. Colin runs really good routes, big, tall receiver. Tice Brown has really good hands and makes, he's very athletic also. So we feel good about that receiving core, like you mentioned.
No question. Talking with head coach Craig Sherg of the Washburn Ichabods as we're previewing the offensive side of things here for the Ichabods. Let's get to the running backs and the tight ends. Taylon Peters, a terrific first 2 years as a true freshman, and then last year, averaged 5 yards per run. Fantastic stuff for Taylon. He'll kind of be maybe the bell cow this year, and I think he can do it. That's no question about it. But you also got Tyler Bowden. You've got Hunter Browning, Percy Mitchell. You got still, those 4 guys who can back him up. But it kind of looks like, last year Taylon got about 11 carries per game. I think that's probably going to up this year would be my guess.
I would say it would, and hopefully we can keep in that 5-6 yards of carry. Then your ground game's going well. Tyler Bowden's a guy that could surprise some people.
He's fast.
Very fast.
Yes.
He's not the biggest guy, but he's strong. And if he breaks into the open, he's really fast. And then Hunter Brown's got an excellent speed, too. And Hunter came to us after the spring and said, look, I can still play receiver, but, he saw that there was, after Zach Willis graduated, so Hunter jumped over to tailback and has really had a great fall camp. He looked good in the spring, but in the fall camp, he's really come on.
You can kind of line him up in the slot. You can move him around a little bit.
We had some days where the receivers were kind of, at receiver, you run a lot in practice. There were some days they were kind of gassed out, so we just put Hunter in at the backfield and threw him out at receiver, and he knows all those routes. So he's kind of a two-headed guy that can play receiver or tailback. And then Percy's kind of your bigger back. We have another kid, Jermon Watson, and he's another big back. So we usually like to start the year really dividing up the carries, kind of keep those guys healthy, and that's what we'll probably do. But Taylon should get more carries in 11 a game.
But the fact that you still got a lot of guys, and a little different because Taylon can kind of do it all. I remember the speed that Tyler Bowden had.
Yeah,
you can see that.
Wheels.
To the tight ends, you've got 3 experienced tight ends. Matthew Simmons, I don't think even Matthew realized, hey, I'm going to catch 3 touchdowns, almost have 250 yards receiving as he switched over from linebacker. Bryce Eaton is back after the injury last year, and then Trey Pavarnik as well. Throw in Connor Searcy, the fullback, who's got great hands for a fullback. But those 3 guys, you can line up in the good old Husker package, and, hey, we got weapons. You could even maybe stretch Trey Pavarnik out wide a little bit because he's big and strong, and Searcy, fantastic fullback. So it's great to have a lot of different position groupings.
We do. We can really we can spread the field with what we call our rocket personnel, 4 receivers. We can get big and, like you mentioned, our Husker personnel and have really good personnel. All the tight ends can block well. Bryce is probably the best blocker, and he's just coming off that injury and starting to get his legs under him. So it was good to see it kind of towards the tail end. This last week, he's really come on.
And it takes a year before you can do that.
Pavarnik's really done some great work, and he's bigger, stronger. His blocks are good. He can run, get out in the routes really well. And so, yeah, we feel like those guys can split out and be receivers. So, you played with a guy named Ryan Mertz way back in the day, and they're kind of like that. They can do a little bit of that stuff. So, we feel good about those guys. So if the receivers are kind of getting run down a little bit, and we're running, we hopefully we get a lot of first downs because we want to run a lot of plays. We can go in with a 2 tight end set and do some of the same things.
Now we get to Kellen Simoncic's most trusted group. We get to the big fellas, the offensive line, and I tell this every year, folks, they are the most fun on any team. Offensive linemen are built different, and I mean that in a fantastic way. They have the most fun. If you want to hang out with a group of guys on a football team, pick the offensive line. You will laugh the entire time. It's just how it is. Offensive linemen are terrific, and you've got 4 starters all back from last year. Colton Dunkel graduated, but the good news about that is Mason Hone got some time last year, so it's almost like you've got 4.5 starters back. Andrew Funk, Bergenhofer, Jacob Glendenning, C.J. Murray, all back from last year. Mason Thayer saw some action last year as well. Andrew Husfeld saw a little bit of time. Nate Harding will be kind of your backup offensive lineman. So you've got 8 to 9 offensive linemen who can play. But this is a group that, when you look at it, you say, wow, they're not the biggest of guys. But this is a group that can move. That's another thing.
Yeah, they're good athletes. And then Chad Nagoy, he didn't get to play last year. He's hurt, but he came on real strong, and he'll get in at tackle. So, to be honest, it feels like we have 9, 10 guys.
That's incredible.
And so it'll be tough on Dane because you don't typically O-line, you don't sub a lot, but you may see a sub more than usual, and even 3 guys at once type thing instead of just one guy, because they're used to playing with certain guys, almost like a hockey team, change out the line. Center usually keep fairly consistent because the quarterback. But yeah, and those guys, and that's one of the reasons why we were able to run kind of 2 practices, because those guys are good, and they push each other. And like you said, they're just a great group of guys. And I think they've gone really, they practiced really well versus our D-line.
And we're going to get to the D-line because that thing is going to be salty.
They've made each other better. And each of those linemen, like Funk and Bergen and Hone and Glendenning and CJ and all those guys, they made themselves better from last year. They're stronger. They're in better shape. I anticipate them playing well.
In order to be good in the MIAA, you got to be good up front.
Yeah,
there is no question about that. And having 4.5 starters back is a huge, huge bonus. Coming up, we're going to get to the defensive side. We'll dip into special teams as well because Washburn returns almost everybody on the special team side, so it should be a lot of fun as we are recapping the offseason as well as previewing the upcoming 2022 season. Washburn versus the Lincoln Blue Tigers, 6 o'clock kickoff on Thursday. Right about now, hopefully the Ichabods will be in the middle of the second quarter, and the Washburn Ichabods will be pitching a shutout because this defense can be pretty darn good. Once again, if you want to get tickets, American Family Insurance agents have them for you. Go to an American Family Insurance agent here in Topeka. Brad and Ole are here right now here at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill. Come on out, and they can get you free tickets for the home opener against the Lincoln Blue Tigers. Coming up next, we'll talk all things defense here at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill.
is here, and the summer strong by starting up a new season of productivity. Your business upgrade begins with up to 48% off top-rated laptops, like Washburn, taking performance to the next level with 12th Gen Intel Core processors. It's time to push your growing business even further. What's next for you? Upgrade today by calling 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Grill here on this Tuesday as the Washburn Ichabods gearing up for their season and home opener coming up on Thursday at Yager Stadium, 6 o'clock with the kickoff. If you got nothing else going on, no one cares about the Royals anymore. The Chiefs don't have a game this week. KU's playing on Friday, which is dumb, but they're doing it anyways. And then you've got K-State in action. They play South Dakota. No, that's not going to be a game. They're not playing one of the Dakota states, so it's not going to be a close one. So coming out to Washburn and watch the Ichabods take on the Lincoln Blue Tigers. We will have another Tuesday edition of the Coaches Show next week because Washburn's game next week will be at 7 o'clock in Warrensburg against Central Missouri, 6:30 pregame coverage. So a little hour later. So we'll have another Taco Tuesday edition of the Washburn Coaches Show here at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill. Time to get to the defense, as the Washburn defense last year had some terrific performances. The defensive line might be as deep as Washburn has ever had in Craig Shurig's time in 21 years. This defensive front, they go 8 deep and might even be 9 or 10, and they are all really good athletes. Not a lot of, I would call them, the Vince Wilforks of the world, Coach, but my goodness, you've got Braden Rose, you've got Landon Urban, Patrick Altenor, Isaac Keener, Chase Oz, Daniel Pyburn, Chase McCoy, Justin Akinmullidan. This is a group that one can just they're like interchangeable parts, you know what I mean? They all can play outside, they can play inside, they got speed, they got strength. When you look at some of these guys, Keener, who was a backup, had 4.5 sacks last year. Landon Urban has had a phenomenal career. Braden Rose, another terrific career. So this is a defensive line that I feel like, especially because a few of them, this will be their last go-around with Daniel Pyburn, Braden Rose, Landon Urban. Yeah. This is going to be a fun bunch. And if you want to win in the league, you had 33 sacks last year. That was number one in the MIAA. If you're leading the MIAA in that statistic, you're good. And this has a chance to be one of the best that Washburn has seen.
Yeah, and you mentioned the depth, and with on D-line is the most exhausting position. Offensive line is one of the toughest because you're blocking these really good athletes. You got to get up with the linebackers, safeties, and it's really tough mentally and everything. But D-line is the most physically exhausting because you got to fight off these offensive linemen, go chase down the running back, quarterback, all these things. And offenses go fast. So you can only play so hard, so long. So depth is key. And all those guys, like you mentioned, none of them are like the run-stopping plug nose guard. Mm-hmm. We really don't have that. But we can come at you with depth, speed, and strength. We have a couple guys with some decent size, but they're very quick. And so that's the thing. You're going to see those guys sub in and out. They will be just like a hockey line. We'll push a whole new 4 guys on at a break, or if we can, and they'll stay fresh and just roll with it. A lot of them can play tackle or end, so they're multi-trained. It's a fun group, and that's been fun during camp, to be honest, because when they go against the offense, you'll see that pass rush still stays heavy, and sometimes you'll see a team as you watch a game of football, you're like, why, man, the team's all of a sudden able to throw the ball. Well, in the fourth quarter, the defensive line's tired, and the pass rush isn't nearly as good, and you see it week in and week out. Well, if you can keep your D-line fresh and you can keep them really playing fast, that's the whole key to defensive football. So I'm excited to let those guys go. All camp they can't hit the quarterback. All summer they can't hit. They can't hit the quarterback.
And I guarantee you, Kellen has made that known. Every single quarterback that I know would tell them, "Oh, that was a touchdown."
Yeah.
There's no better trash talk than between the quarterback and the defensive line, because the quarterback knows you can't do anything.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the best.
They're calling sack, and you're like, oh, you wouldn't hit me. But now they get to sack the quarterback, so they'll be hungry to do that. And against the run game too. You watch the pro football, and you cannot run the ball in the first quarter. Well, the reason why is because the D linemen are fresh. But then once they get tired, you can run the ball. And so most of the rushing yards you see in the big boys, it's in the fourth quarter. Same thing applies to college football. If the D-line gets tired, you can do anything against the defense. So that depth will be key, and all of them know their assignments too. It's not like I don't feel sometimes you put a guy in, you're like, he's going to mess up. All those guys are good on their assignments and ready to roll.
We're talking with head coach Craig Scherg of the Washburn Ichabods here at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill. Let's go to the linebackers. And Washburn I call Washburn linebacker U.
Yeah,
I mean, if you look at how many great linebackers dating back from Grant Gould, all the way until last year with Brent Peevler and Jacob Anderson, and you had some fantastic GBK as well. This year is honestly one of the few years where you really just have one returner at linebacker, and that's Grant Bruner. If you want to have somebody back, that's the guy who had 15 tackles in the playoff game, 20 tackles against Pitt State. He's been there 15 years. That is, Grant Bruner is a fantastic linebacker, and he's a cerebral guy. He knows – I bet nobody knows the scouting report better than Grant Bruner, and it's a great one to have. Then you got some guys who, as you mentioned, played a little bit last year. Derek McClendon, he saw some time last year, very athletic. Boy, he can hit you. And then you've got Brent Peevler. He's a guy, Brooks' younger brother. He saw a little bit of action, so it won't be as deep last year, but you do have one guy back in Grant Bruner.
Yeah, and he's kind of the key. He's kind of the captain of the ship back there with getting the D-line set up, and he is kind of the key cog as far as, like you're saying, the intelligence on the field.
He's like the computer back there.
Yeah, and he's very good. He's just a really good football player. Certain, like you describe a linebacker and you say he's a football player. He just has a knack for the game. He takes great angles, doesn't get fooled, gets into his pass drops when it's passed, fills where he's supposed to fill in the run game, makes plays.
He's like the diet version of Zach Watkins.
There you go, the diet.
Because I can't, Grant, I can't give you, you're like Zach Watkins because he was an All-American. But they have the same number, 43.
Hopefully he does it.
Yes.
Hopefully he turns that one in. And then we'll have some younger guys playing in at linebacker, and they've had good camps. Coach Luke's doing a good job with them. So you'll see some other guys filter in there. But you're right. Like he and Derek and Peeve will be kind of the main cogs at the inside linebacker spot, and then a bunch of guys will get in there. And that D-line staying fresh should help those guys out a lot.
Let's go to the safety spot. And this is another spot. I think safety is the toughest position to play in Washburn's defense because you're asked to take on 280-pound offensive lineman, but you're saying, hey, by the way, I'm going to need you to run with a guy like J.J. Letcher. That's difficult to do, and you've got four guys really back from last year. Kevin Neal, terrific year last year. Peyton Lane might be the most underrated MIAA defender last year.
That's probably right.
You also have Shannon Ross back. You've got Jordan Finnessy back. You've gotten guys who have played last year. So that's four guys at the safety spot that are all back who know what to do, have played MIAA football.
Yeah, like you mentioned, they all have experience. Finnessy's got the least experience, but he's had some of the best camp. He's really a good player. So, you feel good. I feel really good about their depth and leadership, and they're the ones that have to get everything right in the back seven. with the coverage calls and all that, and they're all very smart. And they're students of the game. They love the game. So if your safeties can read the quarterback, read the formations, kind of anticipate the routes, they can have a good day.
I never felt bad for a defensive back in my playing career. Not once. But now, as we get a little bit older, I feel bad for defensive backs because if a D lineman makes a mistake, nobody knows. But if a defensive back makes a mistake, every single person knows.
Yep.
And that is where, as we grow older, we mature. And that's where I feel a little bit bad for defensive backs because then everybody's like, oh my gosh, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, how did that? Well, probably because maybe the D line didn't do their job, that type of thing. So I will give
and all the rules are against them.
Yeah,
there's not a rule for them.
That I will agree with that as well. No
D-backs have
question.
all the
Oh
rules
my
against
goodness. Now let's go to the corner spot. This is one where Washburn had Marquise Manning last year, was excellent. Man, what a great year. First team all conference. They really didn't throw at him that way. You have one starter back. That's Christian Clark, the Topeka product. He had a pretty good year last year, and he fought through injuries. He's going to be back. And then Jamison Phelps did not play last year, was sick. He's going to be back. So that helps. It's not as if he's a greenhorn out there. And then you've got some backups. Haven't seen a lot of time, but talking to a couple coaches, hey, you know what? It's not as if, the ship is going to sink if our starters go down.
Yeah, they're talented kids, and they just have to get playing experience. So we'll rotate. We'll do some rotation there, too. J-Mo's really a neat kid and played as a true freshman. We had the COVID year, all that stuff. And then he had a sickness, an illness last year, couldn't play. And he rebounded. He's in great shape now.
And he's a bigger corner, 6'1".
Yeah, he's got all his weight back. And just a phenomenal young man. And he and Christian are really smart players. They're athletic. They're tall. Have good length. They can make plays on the ball. They'll be really good. And then we need to get those other guys in, and they're ready to go. And their athleticism is really good. So we feel really good about the athleticism in our secondary. The experience of the safeties can help some of those young corners. Christian and J-Mo also are really good leaders, so they're helping with some of those guys because they know we can go into a nickel package, bring another corner in, maybe cover a slot man-to-man. So there's some things we can do with that secondary with some of the depth we have.
Let's get to the special teams because special teams helped win Washburn. I can think of 3 games last year. One, Central Oklahoma, J.J. Letcher with the kickoff return. You look at the Pitt State game, Jace Williams blocking the game-winning field goal attempt. And then you look at the game against Northwest. Northwest makes a couple field goals.
Yeah.
The game's in a completely different spot. So kicking game-wise, Cameron Lake is back, and he hurt his hip last year because he kicked too much against Lincoln. But then Trent Brem came in and was fantastic.
Great job.
No, I guarantee you there won't be 5 teams that have a better starter than Washburn has as a backup because Trenton can flat-out kick it. But both of them are back, so really no worries there. They can kick it from deep. They can make field goals. That's a positive situation. But we got a new punter. He's going to be a true freshman. The last true freshman punter you had worked out all right. Perry Schmiedler was a pretty darn good punter. But you got a new punter. So tell us a little bit about Jake Zeller, the Holton product.
Yeah. Jake came into camp and really did well. We also have Gavin Wilhelm, and he's a lefty. So we have a righty and a lefty punter. We'll use both. Jake was more consistent, and he's a true punter. He did that all through high school. And Gavin did place kicking and kicking, and we told him, hey, work on punting in the summer. But he's an outstanding athlete. Will play golf for Washburn also.
Wait. What? He's the rare golfer football guy.
Golfer football guy, and so Gavin will help out on some kickoffs. He's got a big leg. Punting, and could do some field goals. Cam will do the majority of the field goals and kickoffs. Trent will also be there if needed on some field goal stuff, and so we'll kind of see how the season goes on with Trent. We talked a little bit if we don't need him after a certain time, he could look to redshirt maybe and save a year, and then. But Jake's done a really good job in camp, and so he's an athletic kid. He's also our holder, does a great job holding. And So yeah, Coy Roki's a really good
the
snapper.
back from last
Plays
year.
linebacker too, so he's getting some snaps at linebacker. Really is a fantastic snapper with short and long, and then so those guys working together throughout practice, we feel pretty good about it. Cam's back, so he's kicking.
His hang time is what's so impressive. He kicks it so high,
and he's been very accurate in practice. He's kicked in practice. We've had some scrimmages, and he's done a couple, deep 40s into the 50s, and they're hitting up high on the goalpost. I mean, they could be gone. They could be good from a long way. I mean, he's got a really powerful leg, and he's been really pinpoint with it. But I think from snap to hold to kick, we look pretty solid. And obviously game time is game time, but I think they'll perform well. Hopefully we're not punting a lot, but I think we feel good about our punting situation. And both those guys are really good athletes, so you can, like Perry used to take off and run. Both Gavin and Jake can run, so we have athletes back there that can take off if needed.
And I don't know if teams are going to kick it to J.J. Letcher. I wouldn't.
Hopefully there's a little wind and they have to.
Yeah, they have to. But JJ will be back there on kickoff returns, punt returns. I know Peter will be back there as well. So I hope we've got some kickoff
returns.
Game's
fun. Yeah, you don't want to go get something to eat or drink when they're getting ready to kick
And if
off.
they kick away from JJ, I'm sure we've got some different wrinkles when you got somebody like JJ Letcher coming up. We got one final break. We'll get a quick timeout. We will preview the Lincoln Blue Tigers as Washburn takes on Lincoln out of Jeff City Thursday, 6 o'clock kickoff, 5:30 pregame coverage. We'll finish off this edition of the Washburn Coaches Show coming up.
He needs more certified installers before the sun sets on his business. Indeed can help him hire great people fast. Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Raymond York's here with eBay Motors. You're driving along and some Nimrod cuts you off. You hit the horn. Jeez, it sounds like a goose in distress. Time to head over to eBay Motors. They have horns for every make and model, not to mention horn pads, steering wheels, wiring, and more. 122 million parts. You can even go for an upgrade. That looks like just a cutoff man needs a new seat cover. Try eBay Motors, pal. Get the right parts at the right price. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Get Labor Day savings at Lowe's. Buy one, get one 50% off select HGTV home by Sherwin-Williams Paint and cabin exteriors.
At the corner of Huntoon and Gage here in the capital city of Kansas. Don't forget, it is Taco Tuesday every single Tuesday here at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill. Come on out, get a couple tacos. We'll be back here next week. So you got a warning. Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. We'll hopefully talk about a Washburn win over the Lincoln Blue Tigers. This will be the 9th meeting between the Ichabods and the Blue Tigers. Last year, Washburn won 76-12. Of course, there was no game in 2020. 2019, Washburn won right at the Yager Stadium 49-27. So the Ichabods taking on the Lincoln Blue Tigers. And Washburn's in a unique spot because Lincoln has a new head coach. Jermaine Gales is the new head coach. And anytime you have a new head coach, you don't really quite know what to expect. So we bring in head coach Craig Sherrigan. You can only kind of go with what their history is. So it's kind of a tough situation. No film on this group. They have a couple guys back, but brand new quarterback, new running back, couple new wide receivers, defense. The defense returns some numbers that you probably remember. But this is a coaching staff that numbers wise, they got a bunch of kids out that they normally don't have.
Yeah, and we kind of waited for the two deep, and then when you look at the two deep, you're like, okay, they have this many receivers, and so you kind of guess. But we feel like they'll be on offense, maybe 10 personnel, 11 personnel, use a lot of receivers, zone type run team, ride option stuff with the quarterback. Quarterback's tall, good size,
6'6".
Yeah, so you think you got to figure he's got a really strong arm, and they'll probably have some quarterback run game with him. So, you see that every week. So we just prepared all camp for teams that do that. We'll see that with a number of teams in our conference that like to run the quarterback. And so we prepared our defense that way. And then on their defense, hard to tell what they'll do. We've prepared for a 4-3. We've prepared for the 4-2-5. We've prepared for a 3-4 odd man front. And then come game time, we'll try to figure out what they're in. They list themselves with their D linemen down like they're a 4-man front, but we'll see. But we've prepared for each. But like you mentioned, that's the one disadvantage when you play someone that's new. They have film on you. We don't have film on them. That's really the biggest disadvantage that we have as far as going into this game. So we'll just have to be really good at communicating. That's what we talk to our kids about. We have an experienced group that get off the field. We'll sit down, talk to them, let them tell us what they see, what we see, and if we have to make adjustments, we make adjustments. But during camp, our defense gives us a lot of looks. We give our defense a lot of looks. Unless they come out and split back veer, we did not show our kids split back veer. So that would be a surprise. Or if they, defensively, I think whatever they run defensively will be ready.
If they go split back veer, here's the good news.
we got Harding.
You remember
we have a Harding game plan.
I was like, everybody who played in that game, minus like two people.
Hopefully they don't execute as well as Harding.
No,
did.
hopefully they don't. So. Well, when it comes to this season, expectations are high. I know I talked to JJ Letcher, and JJ says, we expect to be playing, after the season. We expect to be in the playoffs. It's a group that we feel we can be pretty dynamic. So, it's a little bit different being the hunter instead of being the hunted instead of the hunter. And so that's one thing that this Ichabod team got the taste of it. But now looking at, hey, you know what? This is going to be kind of a different season.
And I've been pleased with how we've approached practice. Our intensity at practice has been really good. They haven't tried to take it easy on each other. Matter of fact, this last couple practice, we really backed off for them. We cut periods. We did a lot to hey, they need to get their legs under them. And so hopefully we're fast. I really hope on Thursday night we show the speed that we have and the explosiveness that we have. And I think we timed it out right. Whether it's on the line or the skill positions O and D, I think that's a strength of ours, and hopefully it shows Thursday night. And then we just got to take a week at a time. Obviously, you want to stay healthy, but we have depth. But I've been real pleased with how they pushed each other. We had some highly competitive practices, which is what you want as a coach. And now they get to play somebody else, so hopefully they turn it up a few more notches, and play hard.
Still got the same nerves before week one?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I still, I've been at it a long time, like you mentioned, but I still have I have nerves going out to like a Thursday style practice was today, and you're like, man, we got to execute today. Can't have mistakes, and absolutely, yeah. So I still, you still get that feeling before practice, and that's what makes it fun. And the kids seem to have that. I don't know if we had a day during camp where we just went through the motions. And the guys competed, so that was good.
We're talking with head coach Craig Sherrigan here at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill, gearing up for the 2022 season. And is there something this year that you say, you know what, our season it's going to depend on this, it's going to depend on this, that type of thing? Is there something that you say, you know what, this year every team's got a different feel? That's why I say momentum doesn't really go from game to game. But But I do think momentum is a thing in a game.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
You look at the Nebraska-Northwestern game, my goodness, the Huskers look great, and then, boy, that changed in a hurry. But is there something this year that you say, you know what, this is a huge aspect for us?
I just think we're really solid across the board, offense, defense, special teams. And so as you get into our grind of our season and each team, you have to be ready. But you have to play, and it sounds cliche, but you have to be complementary football. So there's going to be some games, whereas on defense, we might get off to a slow start. The other team just lights it up, is on fire. We're off a little bit. So the offense has to pick it up and keep us in. I think as we get into fourth quarters, I would anticipate us having a leg up on people just because of our depth and experience. And I think we're a mentally tough team, and hopefully we see that. But if we can play complementary football early, help each other out, get on, like once we get the feel for the game, then let our talent take over. I think that's the key for us.
When it comes to this upcoming year, I'm going to give you a little bit of a break. I am going to do something for this Washburn Coaches Show that I did a couple years ago with Coach Ballard, and I'm going to get a former player to – it's not going to call in. Okay. I'm going to get a question for you.
Okay.
And they're going to ask it. You're going to have no idea who the player is. You're going to have no idea the question. But that's going to be coming up.
The Masked Singer or something like that?
Something of that nature, if you will. So the first one is going to be me because I was a former player of yours, so this is going to be real simple, really easy for you, Coach. What I want to know is my question for you is, what game would you like to have back?
Oh, that's easy.
Which one's that?
The single game.
Just one game that you go, man, I wish we could have that one back.
Yeah, it would have been the playoff game at West Texas.
It was in West Texas. Okay, that would be my game too.
Yeah, that one.
But that was one question.
Still hurts.
That I was gonna, because I always tell people, I go, coaches and players, they think about the games and the plays they didn't make more so than the happy ones.
Yeah, that one's pretty easy to come because it was like we were just playing so good. And then we start. I mean, it was like, and we still look back. You're like, how did we lose that game? we played good. I don't know what the hell happened. And then we got.